there's so many coins out there, right? There's so many technologies out there, and there's some technologies that, maybe people have not heard of as much. One that we have recently come across that I think piqued our interest, so much so that I was like, wait a second, I can't buy it on Coinbase. I got to go open a Kraken account. And I did, is a coin called TAO. And one of the things that I liked about this, and just to be really clear, it's like very small. I think what is the market cap, around 3 billion or so, this is like a tiny little, it's like think of it as a small tech company, right? Compared to some of the big behemoths like an Ethereum or Bitcoin. But what was interesting to me with this, it's the Bittensor network, and you can see where it's trading, and certainly very, very volatile. But this is a network that's designed for people to have AI contributions in a decentralized way. So as we think about having decentralization of money and also tech, AI comes into being too. And right, that's like one of the big concerns right now. Who's going to control AI? And what if you can actually have a decentralized AI platform? That's what the folks that created Bittensor were thinking about. And so this is decentralized, and you're rewarded effectively as an AI creator with the TAO currency, TAO, and that encourages more people to contribute to these AI developments, but in a decentralized way. So it kind of piqued my interest. I know it piqued yours. And what's your thought on this one? Again, it's sort of like a little baby compared to some of the other bigger ones we've been talking about.
Yeah. I mean, that was actually a great explanation. It's about a $3 billion, dollar market cap. So as we were talking about with respect to like Solana, in the neighborhood of 125 billion. There's a lot of potential upside if this takes off. Now, I think we should talk about it just in the context of, there are a lot of projects out there within the, space, and this is one of them. And this is one that, we've been looking at and maybe investing a little bit in. It's one that I know, through our network, that a lot of smart, people tied to the venture capital community, the crypto community, think has a lot of real technological merit to it. Mm-hmm. And it's fascinating. And I think it's just a good way of showing that, there are, it's not just meme coins. There are real technologies that are being developed through the mechanism of these digital assets and cryptocurrencies. So as you said, in this particular case, what they're trying to build is a community that represents a decentralized effort of like pooling AI resources. And you kind of have to purchase the TAO token in order to participate. And then the more you contribute to the system, to that sort of like economy that they're creating, the more you get rewarded. And then I guess as TAO rises in value, the more interest people will have in joining that network. So you get these kind of network effects. So it's a very fascinating kind of technological platform or proposition. And one thing that I kind of like about it is that it's very much modeled on Bitcoin. So unlike Ripple or XRP, there's no controlling entity. It's very decentralized. They actually use the same sort of schedule that Bitcoin uses in terms of the halving schedule. There's going to be 21 million total coins that are ultimately mined and released through various, validation efforts. So it's supply constrained in that sense and really decentralized. So I think it's interesting to talk about as something that has a lot of upside potential, as any kind of early stage coin would. Mm-hmm. Of course, volatile, a lot of downside risk.
Very volatile. I mean, I've seen it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this one that's like the wildest one I've seen, because just, within the span of a week, it's been up around 600 and something. Now it's like now it's 376. But, it is what these things are. And so it's not for the faint of heart. And I say to people like, look, when you're investing in some of this, especially when it comes to the lesser known ones, it's really, your Vegas money. Like, you're not going to Vegas this weekend and playing the crap tables. You're choosing to engage in this. And it's sort of like, you want to just leave it and see what happens. So for me, I look at this as a fascinating way to approach AI, because I think one of the things we all worry about, and I'm just looking at the comments in real time here, and John Shippey is saying, I don't trust AI, piece of my mind, making the point centralized versus decentralized. And I get it. Like, a lot of us are very, very nervous about what AI can be. So as we seek solutions here, if you could have a decentralized way to approach it, AI, that is, it feels like that's the right direction to go. So this is in its infancy. Who knows if it'll pan out or not, but it's certainly intellectually, I think, and sort of, I was going to say sort of spiritually, like morally, right, in the right direction, and that you want to decentralize AI if possible.
And I think just from an investment perspective, you kind of mentioned Vegas money. I think, when you're dealing with something like this, highly volatile with a lot of upside, but maybe an elevated risk of total loss, the way you address that is just by sizing your investment appropriately, right? So if you buy an S&P 500 index fund, you can make a much larger investment. Even, there's, only in a extraordinarily catastrophic scenario would you have a complete loss. That's almost unthinkable.
Yeah.
Here, you size your positions accordingly, and because there is so much potential upside, you don't actually have to invest that much to, potentially have an impact on.
It's a really good point. And then, if you lose it, you lose it. Right? It's sort of like, I mean, I'm saying, my husband said to me, Trish, why didn't you buy Bitcoin when it was $10? Because I was talking about it all the time. And, I at that point didn't understand how the whole hard wallet thing worked. But the point just being that, some of these things, if they look really interesting, a piece of my mind says, I call it my play money, right? If you have a little bit of play money, just a little bit could go a long way. And, maybe it doesn't, but you see what happens. Go ahead.
I'll just add, worst case scenario, you lose everything, right? You lose 100% of what you invest. Mm-hmm. But by the way, there are a lot of investments out there where, you think, they're safe, but you could actually lose, most of your money or all of your money in the stock market without the kind of potential upside that is available through some of these investments. So, it's a calculated risk, it's risk reward. There's a lot of optionality in the crypto space, and be careful, size your positions accordingly. And with any of these, be prepared for, severe losses of capital, whether temporary or permanent.
Yeah, I'm actually putting up, you see it on the screen, and I'm putting it in the chat, 76research.com. Use code $. You can get our 76 Research report there. But the other thing that you guys should be looking at, and we write about crypto a fair amount, but we also write about macroeconomic events and overall markets. And we do have some model portfolios that I want to mention, model portfolios that you can subscribe to, where we give you 10 or 15 stocks. And the idea there is, even in the American Resilience portfolio, which is a growth-oriented portfolio, that's not wild, wild west. These are companies that we really, Rob and I, have spent a lot of time on looking at, analyzing, and understanding, because these are long-term plays that these are just really, really good American companies. And they're ones that, maybe you wouldn't have thought of, but should over time continue to perform and perform and perform. And that's what we have been seeing. But I'm just going to flag that the model portfolios, there's 3 of them on the website at 76research.com. Right?
Yeah. And we're not, those are more, kind of established cash flow positive, less speculative,
there's an income builder portfolio, for example, that is all designed to, at some point you want to retire and have some income to live off of. And so that's what that is. American Resilience, growth oriented, but again, to your point, very stable. Well, no, we're not talking about cryptos, but we do talk about cryptos within the newsletter itself, 76 Research. And I have a feeling this week we're going to be talking some more about it, especially as we bring forward more of this content just from tonight's discussion with everyone. But I think it's important to know and to understand.